I know it's hard to believe, but war is scary. I get terrified at times when I'm sitting in a hole getting bombed. I want to talk about what are the scariest weapon systems and why, in no particular order. We're going to start with FPVs, just like my shirt that you can buy on bunkerbranding.com. Or like this small one that I built. Kind of cute, right? Not so much. These things have a camera on them. And because of that, the most plentiful videos of combat are of FPVs. So if you're a soldier on the Ukrainian battlefield, you already have an irrational fear of these FPVs, no matter how effective they are. But one thing about these FPVs that people don't really think about is that most of them don't hit their target. Most of them don't even reach the front line that they are targeting for various reasons. Jamming of video, jamming of radio controls, technical back-end issues that the engineers have to deal with, malfunctions, battery life. And for those reasons, probably 1 in 10 FPVs hit their target. Just throwing a number out there. But that doesn't take away the fear. The sound of these things is not like any other drone. The sound, as you guys know, is very jarring. The throttle goes up and down. It sounds like a mosquito, but a bee combined and very loud. I don't know. I don't like it. And the most terrifying part, at least for myself, is that when I hear an FPV go over our position, you don't know how to react. You were never taught how to react to these things. Do you shoot it down? Do you stand still and freeze so they don't see you? Do you run underneath a cover? Underneath some concealment? Whatever you can find. I don't know. Do you throw something at it? There's no clear-cut way on how to deal with these FPVs. It's a lot like a gunfight where there's so many different options and so many different ways to react to it. Whereas artillery, you just hit the deck. You hit the deck and you pray to God. FPVs are different, and for that reason, it's definitely like a top tier fear of mine. And to finish up the drones, MAVICs. MAVICs are a strange one. They're kind of cute, right? They're a little cute, at least for myself. I use them on the battlefield a lot. I was a drone operator, reconnaissance pilot, as well as bomber, and we use MAVICs. And MAVICs, as you know, were made for amateur photographers, even agriculture reasons, but not military. They were not made for that, so they sound beautiful. They sound very well made, and they look a little less intimidating. And for the vast majority of MAVICs, they're just there to watch. They don't have bomb strapped to them. Some of them do, but most of them don't. So when I would find drones in the air that were Russian, either I would shoot them down or stare at them and run to cover, but they're not gonna shoot a gun at me. But the problem with MAVICs, the reason that we fear them, is that they are the mediator between all of the weapon systems that are trying to target you and you. I post about 10 videos of my operations as a MAVIC pilot, and you guys know, all of the weapon systems, artillerymen, mortarmen, SPGs, machine gunners, FPVs, are all sitting in their holes eating ramen and on their phones. And they have a stream from all the MAVIC pilots in the AO, including myself, and as soon as I find a Russian soldier, I zoom in on them, and all of them drop their ramen, they put away their phone, and they get on their weapon system, and within the minute, they're gonna have a round downrange on this target. They're an eye in the sky. They're cheap, and they just send them their way, and it's 24/7 surveillance. When you go to the battlefield in Ukraine, you are guaranteed to get artillery, you are guaranteed to be watched by a MAVIC, and you are guaranteed to have mines around you. These are just guarantees of modern warfare. And then it's like, is it friendly? Is it Russian? We don't know. The next one, GRAD, rocket artillery. These things are a little scary. You know, they're scarier when they're incoming, yeah, for sure. But if you have exposure to GRAD in the past, you're gonna have a lot better time the second time around. Why? You can hear them launch the rockets about 30 seconds before they start impacting around you. You hear that boom, 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 boom. And as soon as you hear that, you run into cover and you pray. You know, it's super inaccurate. GRAD is meant to clear entire grid squares, kilometer by kilometer. That is their job. It is meant to suppress everything around you. But again, why is it terrifying? I remember one time I was sleeping, it was about 5 a.m., and the Russians decided, we gotta wake you up. Good morning. Ugh.
That was pretty close.
And they sent over an entire volley of GRAD our way. So because we were all asleep, we didn't hear that boom, boom, boom. We just woke up to the whoosh. It goes on, shh. It's exactly what it sounds like, that boom, 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 boom. It impacted all around us, didn't hit us directly because it's inaccurate. Nonetheless, I woke up and I was on the floor covering my neck. And as soon as it was all done, I get up, we go outside and investigate, you know, and once it's over, it's over. You know, it's not like artillery where they reload and they send another round 30 seconds later. You know it's done. We feel pretty safe, we walk outside, and we see a bunch of fires around us. All the forest is burning up. You can see this video where I'm investigating just 5 minutes after it impacted one of the areas that hit. It was right outside our gate. You can see how much it cleared. It is rocket artillery. These are big bombs, big bombs. And they tore down this entire tree. It's really devastating. And because of that, it's scary. You know, it's not like a 60 millimeter mortar. It's not like an 81. It's whatever it is, like a 120. I don't know. It's a big boom. I think that they're a lot less scary the second time around, nonetheless. If you were in the middle of a grad strike, you know what I mean. It's, yeah, not fun. Not fun. The next one that's going to surprise you, tanks. Tanks are now scary. Why? You know, nowadays, Russia and Ukraine both don't have the tanks to do constant assaults, all right? They aren't doing breakthroughs and being 100 meters away from the enemy and firing tank rounds into the trench. They're usually way back in the line, being used as artillery pieces, being used to lob rounds towards our positions. So my experience with them is that you can hear them launch that shell, but it's super quick.
Let's dismount.
Because it's a direct fire 120 millimeter bomb. So you get about a 1 second or 2 second heads up before it impacts on your location. But if you're inside your hole, you're chilling. So a lot of times we'd be sitting in our hole and we'd hear,
Вылетели. О, блядь.
hit the burn behind us. But we're inside a hole, so we don't care. If we're outside, we care. But if we're inside the hole, it's not like it's gonna come down like a mortar. It's just gonna hit the burn. So as soon as the second one comes in, oh, it's a tank. It's a tank, guys, no problem. And we literally just continue eating our ramen, just scrolling our phones. Not a big issue. The concussion wave could wake us up. It could wake us up. It can kind of, give us a little shiver every once in a while, but it's mostly fun. It's not such a big deal. Tanks, not so scary. Next one, BMP. I don't have too many experiences with BMPs. I got like 2. First one was on my first mission. They rolled up right next to us and they started pumping off rounds. And the thing is, it was the fog of war. We didn't know if it was friendly or not. But either way, it's right next to us pumping off rounds into a house. So I ran upstairs and I started getting the law out, the RPG-26. And oh my God, I like tried to get all set up and stuff and didn't work out. By the time that I had gotten it ready to fire, the BMP had rolled off. So the problem with BMPs, the reason they're scary is that they're the ones that are gonna be pushing into that urban area. Tanks, they have a harder time when it's in an urban environment because they can't pivot their gun upwards as much. But BMPs, yeah. So they'll roll up and the autocannon, the 20 or 30 millimeter, it's fast, it's loud. And the vehicle itself has this screaming noise as it comes by. The engine is roaring as it comes by. So I think it's the sounds of it are really scary. Nonetheless, an RPG-26 could disable it, theoretically. Yeah. BMPs, I don't know. I'm a little scared of them, but especially being a drone operator, we're not gonna encounter them. If anything, we're gonna be sending bombs their way. They're not gonna be hitting us. The next one, small arms. Luckily, I've never been a part of a trench assault. Thank God. That sounds very, very scary. From the videos, I would not want to be that close to gunfire coming my way. But because you're a soldier, any soldier in the world has a lot of extensive exposure to rifle fire and machine gun fire overhead, next to them, firing themselves. You already know what to expect. You know what the sounds are. You know what the impact of it is. You know that it's direct fire, unless it's like the beaten zone on a machine gun. But I doubt the Russians use the beaten zone. I think they did a couple times, but I like to think of them just spraying a big air in the air. Nonetheless, I've seen the Ukrainians utilize beaten zone. Beaten zone or not, it's mostly direct fire, and it's not going to explode on impact. That's the scarier part, especially when you're in a hole. It's shrapnel going to be coming in. As long as you have a barrier between you and that enemy, it's not so scary. The distances that I was on the front line against the enemy, either at the start of the war as an infantryman or as a drone operator, they were like super far away. I think the closest I got to the Russians was maybe 500 meters beyond effective range for these rifles. Because of that, when the rounds would come over, I wasn't cracking like these rifles should do if they're firing from an effective range. They would just kind of whistle over. You'd hear them.
Gotcha.
It's not as loud as bombs, and that's what I'm getting at. In my limited exposure, not super scary. There was a time in Ukraine when I was walking through the forest at nighttime, and we were trying to find this drone, and there was a couple pops, all right? There's bullets that were burning up in this fire because the Russians had launched GRAD and started firing the forest. And one of the positions caught on fire, the bullets were exploding. We thought it was a sniper. That was scary, oh, shoot. Sniper. But then we kind of realized it's probably just cooking off in the fire. So, I don't know. I think it's situation dependent. I think the most scary part would just be to be that close to the enemy, not so much the gunfire, if that makes sense. Moving on. Jets and helicopters. I don't like them just because I was in Iraq where we didn't have man pads. We didn't have any way to go and deal with these things. We just had tunnels and hiding. We were tunnel rats. And because of that, I'm scared of them. They would bomb a lot of targets. But the thing is that I know, being in Ukraine, that they're not there to target small-time targets because there's man pads in the area. You can't be bombing to and from, making sorties, multiple sorties a day. They do it like once a week, maybe. You're not gonna see a jet that's coming in order to target you usually. Yeah, if you're away from anything that's important, you're probably not on their pre-designated list of targets. Unless they're using cluster bombs, like Arnie and Artem encountered on the FPV mission where they were using the FPVs for the first time that Alex and I had made.
Time to go home, man.
Never been on a cluster bombs, can't say much, but I think it would be scary. Those from jets and fabs and cabs. Those can be a danger to infantrymen. The jets would launch them from very, very far away, 40 kilometers, and they'll kind of glide in and boom. They're loud, they're pretty inexpensive. Yeah, they're scary, I guess. I mean, it's a big boom. Now, when I talk about artillery and mortars, you'll understand more, but when a mortar goes off 100 meters away, it sounds the same as an artillery blast 500 meters away. So you can only imagine fabs and cabs impacting a kilometer away. These things make craters in the ground. They're 3 or 4 meters deep. So it sounds like it's a mortar coming in 20 meters away, kind of. And the concussion wave, everything, I don't know, everything about jets is just loud. Just knowing that there was $1 trillion invested into this weapon system, and there's like a whole squad behind the maintenance of this multi-million-dollar machine, and it's coming in, it's screaming in loud and proud in order to launch a bomb. It's a little scary. So that's all I have to say about jets. Make yourself less of a target. Don't, you know, I wonder if they would launch a fab at me. Like if they knew that Civdiv was in a hole, would they target the fab? I don't know. I don't think I'm that important. If I was that important, I'd be dead, right? Oh. The god of war. You guys already know what it is. Artillery. All right, artillery, scary. These are big bombs that are coming in. You usually can't hear them because the artillery systems are so far away. But they're launching 152 millimeter shells. And you get a whistle. You're gonna get a little bit of a heads up. But the shrapnel and the concussion wave of these things is crazy. It is very easy to identify artillery from mortars. They're a lot louder, a lot bigger. The shrapnel, I mean, some of the videos that you can see online, they can be 100 meters away, but it only takes a gram of steel zinging by, cutting your carotid, you're dead. So that's what I don't like about them. They're loud, and if you're outside, it's super dangerous. Indirect fire, nobody likes them. It gives a lot of people PTSD for good reason. It's not fun. Mortars. Mortars are the worst. I can say it on God, the worst fear of mine when I'm on position as a drone operator. Why? We're sitting in a hole. We have a layer of logs and a little bit of dirt on top of us. An 82 millimeter mortar coming in, screaming in. We call them screamers. Alex does. It's kind of funny. The only way that they can hit us is if they hit right outside the entrance and it comes into our corridor, entering the bill and dodge, the bunker, and hitting me. Or they hit directly on top. Burst open our tiny piece of cover, mostly concealment. It's top attack weapons. That is the biggest fear for anybody in Ukraine. You are in a hole most of the time. You're in a trench or a hole. The only way that they can get you is from top attack. That is why MAVICs and FPVs are so important. That's why they're so effective. Mortars have been around for centuries, even millennia. There's many different variants of it, 60s, 82s, we got 120s. 120s are the worst. Those are big bombs. They're the same size payload as a tank. They're by far the most common munition on the front line that's being launched from indirect fire. It's because they're portable. You can move them around. You can just have a 2-3 man team and they can operate in 80. 120 is going to be a little bit more, but they're plentiful. And they're usually the first to engage. As soon as a MAVIC pilot finds a target, it's mortars. You can hear them whistle by. You can hear them launch the shell. You have about a 5-second delay before it impacts your position. Cool, you get a big heads up. But look, it's just luck. It's just luck. If it hits overhead, you're dead. You're done. So yeah, anybody in Ukraine will say the same. Mortars, not fun. And the last one is mines. I have planted a mine. Planted mines, and I know how dangerous they can be. Trying to dig those things back up was a pain in the ass. Trying to tell my command where they are. Like, here's the GPS coordinate. And then a year later, they're still there. These things are everywhere. Anti-tank mines, we got toe poppers from cluster munitions. They're dropping them from MAVICs all the time, by the way. So the MAVICs will just line up on that trail. 30 seconds ago, you were walking down that trail, drops a little toe popper on the trail. And then you walk back and boom, you lose your foot. And it takes you out of action for a year. Rehabilitation, maybe forever. You guys can see from Skippy's video that I just posted on my channel how effective they are for mitigating the troops moving. They have to move in a single file line. It's really, really difficult. And I think that's the reason that Europe is now looking at getting rid of the mine ban. It's because they're really effective, and you need that if you're gonna be invaded. You need mines. Not a fun one. A lot of experiences with mines, tons of them, both in Iraq and Ukraine and Syria. You can make them yourself. There's a lot of danger when it comes to mines. So I think all soldiers are innately fearful of mines, but we do the best we can. And overall, with all these threats, the picture I want to give you guys is this is a 3D war. This is not 2D anymore. It's not like you're looking at the enemy, I scan my environment, maybe look at the ground for a mine once or two. It's 3D. You have to look at the skies, you have to use your hearing, you have to use your eyes, you have to do your 0s, 5s, 25s all the time, looking for mines, looking for anything. So that's what Ukraine's been dealing with for the last 3 years. The country that we fund so that we don't have to go there and defend Europe. The ones that we fund to stop Russia in its tracks, no more war, don't invade, you're done. But we stopped funding them. Cool. Like 3 years of this It's terrifying, but they've been doing it with the utmost morale the entire time. So despite all the fears, despite all the terrifying experiences, they continue on. And they'll continue on. So hey, I still support Ukraine. I just want to give you guys a little bit more introspection into what the Ukrainians have to deal with. for 3 years. So thanks for all the support. Really appreciate it. Peace.
It doesn't matter.
I know, it doesn't
What round you're gonna be blew up, man. Зірка. У нас хтось на вулиці, хтось.
I have no idea. Oh, the light. Oh, it's the light. Here we go. Arms away. Cowards.
Oh, man.
Right in the middle, dude. Good morning.